They say that opposites attract, and while that might be true, we also get into conflict when we have opposing perspectives or personalities, and we have a moment where those clash. So what do we do in that situation? We're going to dive into that in this video. Stacey Rockline, and I'm on a mission to eradicate loneliness. So I'm always looking for ways we create it in our lives and in our relationships. And we do it when we have very different ways of seeing the world, because we sort of abandon each other, or we might have a tendency to abandon each other in those moments. And I'm going to explain kind of what's happening. So imagine that you have a continuum, and you can use this for anything. You can use it for anger. One person's down here on, expresses anger a lot, and the other person's down here on doesn't express anger at all. And then we all fall somewhere on that continuum. Or someone who's really energetic and excitable, and then someone who's extremely chill. They're going to be somewhere on this spectrum. Those would be like the extremes, and then we all are in there somewhere. But rarely are we at the exact same point as someone we care about on that continuum. So when we deal with things that are related to that in particular, we can get into conflict. So let me give you an example. Let's say we have a continuum of people who are highly impulsive, risk takers, that kind of thing. And then on this end, you have not risk adverse, but really like maybe thinks through things and is very hesitant or careful or intentional or whatever. So high risk taker, impulsivity, takes time to make decisions, very thoughtful, thinks through all possibilities. And then we're somewhere on this spectrum. I find myself more on the impulsive side. I will jump before thinking. I don't have a tendency to think things through all the way. There have been plenty of situations where later I'm like, why did I do that so quick? Why did I buy that without waiting to think about whether I wanted it or not? Or why did I make that commitment without thinking about what that meant in the long run? And I like that about myself. That's where I feel most at ease. But there are people in my life who are farther down the continuum than I am. And they have a tendency to think through, well, what if this thing happened that could be negative? Or what about this thing? Or what about this thing? And for them, thinking through that stuff gives them ease. It makes them feel better. But it makes me feel frustrated because I feel like it's negative and, and boring. And why think about the worst case scenarios? Let's just expect the best. So what I find myself doing is pulling away from that person. I get frustrated, and so I turn away. Now, turning away is something that we should really avoid doing in our relationships, because it makes the other person feel that we leave them alone in the moment. And that's how we're creating this loneliness, is because I'm like, no, I'm going to go this direction, farther away from you, instead of coming closer to you. And I do think in our relationships, we know where we are on the map and where we want to be, and that's perfectly okay. But we need some fluidity on this continuum so that we can move closer instead of farther away when we have very different personalities. And the thing is it happens on both directions. So another example is I'm on this continuum for impulsivity and kind of Pollyanning my way through the world. But when I'm with somebody who's even farther down than me, even more impulsive, even more jumping in without thinking, even more just not even like considering negative possible outcomes, I will find myself sliding the other direction because some like responsible part of me wakes up and goes, oh my gosh, they're not thinking this through. What could possibly happen? And I notice that they have the same reaction that I do when that's being done to me. They want to pull away from me. They don't want to have anything to do with that. I'm bringing them down, man. So I'm always trying to have some fluidity to meet the people in my life where they are. How can I stay and listen and be present when somebody wants to walk through some of the possible negative possibilities or negative outcomes without letting it bring me down? How can I be excited about somebody who's taking risks and, hoping for the best? I don't know what's going to happen anyway. I want to keep moving toward the people that I love, not farther away, even though the knee-jerk reaction to me often is to go in the opposite direction. So we have to be true to ourselves in this situation. I mean, I am not going to put myself in an emotionally or mentally unhealthy or unsafe space to do it. Like, there are certain things that cause me anxiety to think about negative outcomes. I'm a mother. So if I've got someone who's like, let's think about all the possible terrible things that could happen in this scenario, and it relates to my kids, that just like brings my anxiety up and starts to make me feel really, emotionally and mentally unwell, unsafe in that moment. So I can have a boundary there. I'm allowed to say, I don't want to think through those possible outcomes. I'm going to stay where I am on this continuum. But as much as possible, I try to stay and remind myself, this person is thinking through things because it makes them feel better. It's giving them ease. And on the other end, how do I not steal the excitement from the person who is maybe, taking a bigger risk than I would ever take? And also stay true to myself, right? Not let that cause me anxiety. I mean, it's a delicate thing, right? But you can think about it when it comes to anything. If you've got someone who's really excitable, a lot of energy, and the other person's very chill, and the excited person comes in and is like a whirlwind, and the other chill person is like, I want to run and go into the bedroom and stay away from this because this is too much for me, they're going away from the person they care about. How can they have enough fluidity to move closer to them, but without just feeling completely and totally energy sucked? And vice versa. Both people have to do this for each other. It's this, the Gottmans, recommend that we try to turn toward each other as much as possible. And I think it's really important, like I said, not to make yourself unsafe or be in an unhealthy space or turn away from yourself. That's my rule. I will turn toward you as long as I don't have to turn away from myself. But we should watch for the little ways that we do have a tendency to be like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. How can we hold ourselves there a little bit more? And like I said, you can use this for anything. Anger, excitement, introversion, extroversion, whatever it may be, so that we don't create loneliness, we create more connection. If you enjoy these little videos, make sure that you subscribe to this channel so that you can receive notifications for them. And please comment. Always happy to see your comments, and I will catch you next time.